At least you're seated in one place here.
Yeah, I had dinner too, so that's always a plus.
I did not. I've got snacks in my bag just in case I get hangry.
I get hungry, so.
Well,
And at least we're not in Holden. Yes. Right?
Warm weather's coming tomorrow.
warm weather tomorrow?
Warm weather.
Oh, gosh.
Oh. No, not really, but.
Resigned from Harvard.
He did?
Yeah,
Where's he going?
he's taken the DPW position in Hudson,
Good for him.
going home. No.
Our voting clickers are.
Yes, I know they are, but the moderator is just figuring out in this moment that only specific ones work in specific,
That's what
Cameras are
I'm
not
well,
afraid
It
of.
doesn't look like that in real life.
Everybody,
It's got a shine to it to me.
but he did not, and
George
he's
Barrington
losing
on
his
the Concom,
mind.
he's bald, and so he always jokes that he has like a shiny turkey breast head because the light hits it just right, you know?
Town.
Take a picture and send it to Maddie.
Good lord, at the time the. Brother and like, thinks they're wonderful, so he sold his brother.
He sold them, yeah.
And even Jeannie wasn't.
Nobody was more resistant than Wes Boylston. We
Yes.
didn't even use him.
I know.
Poor Damien. I thought she was gonna lose her mind.
Alright, everybody ready?
I'm glad we.
Alright, I will call to order tonight's meeting of the select board. It is 6 p.m. on the dot. We are on Zoom. We are being live streamed and recorded for future YouTube posting. We have all 5 board members in person tonight. And before we get into the agenda, if you could stand for the pledge, please.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have to start off approval of Treasury warrant 26-18 and 26-PW18. Anything of note in there, Heather? Just the usual?
I didn't see anything that stood out.
Any questions from the board? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve Treasury warrant 26-18 and 26-PW18. So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right, roll call. Alex?
Would I?
Second I.
Matt's and I.
Ledger, aye. Thank you. We have 3 sets of meeting minutes. We have 2 budget meetings from February 12th and February 19th, and then our regular meeting minutes from the 17th. I believe everybody was present at all of them. So if the board is comfortable, we should be able to approve as a slate. Is there any questions or anything on the minutes? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve the February 12th, February 17th, and February 19th meeting minutes as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any more discussion? All right, roll call. Alex?
Would I?
Second I.
Matt's and I.
Ledger, aye. Thank you, everyone. We have a public hearing, but it's not scheduled to start until 6:45. And if the board is amenable, since we have Deputy Chief Quinn here, moving into the continuity of operations plan so that we can get him out of here in a timely manner. Is that agreeable? All right. Can I turn it over to you to kind of intro the topic and?
Yep. So the continuity of operations plan comes from National Policy Directive 40, which basically says that every municipality, local, state needs to have this thing called a continuity of operations plan. So in the event of a natural disaster, cyber attack, active shooter event, some sort of event like that, the town has a plan and basically gives, order of succession. So let's say the fire chief goes down, notifies everybody, tells everybody that, I'm next in line, and it kind of does that for all the departments. It also allows us to pick up a plan and be like, yep, all right, town offices or building inspector, this is where all his, excuse me. This is where all his important documentation is. Sorry. Where all the important documentation is. This is where this is how to keep it safe. And it also gives secondary facilities. So let's say a flood hits the fire department, and we can no longer stay in there. It would say, yep, your alternative facility is a DBW. Same thing for any other department. They have alternate facilities they can go to try to get their operations back online and providing a service to the public. So this came down from MEMA back last May. Our local MEMA rep reached out to us and said, hey, you guys need to update your continuity of operations plan. And over the last almost year, I've been working on it, meeting with different department heads and just trying to get kind of a lay of their operation and how they would like to see it work. So all the information that's in there is not necessarily from me, it's from all the different department heads within the town. Jen, I know you mentioned some questions, so I'll just go down them quick.
Sure.
So the first part was the introduction, and you kind of mentioned, cybersecurity and ransomware attacks and stuff like that. You are correct. It is an all hazards plan, so that should be included. I didn't include it because that is not my area of expertise. So I can add it in there, but in terms of like security of records and stuff like that, I wouldn't even know where to begin to basically protect records that are digitalized and already in the system. So I could contact CM Geeks who we utilize, but again, I'm not too well versed in that.
Is that something that the office can help?
Absolutely.
If I may, I was gonna say, I think MMA has a lot of information also through, MMA and CMRPC have done a few workshops and everything on kind of best practices, just as a resource.
Yes. Great idea.
Just make notes while we go along here. All right. Next, you mentioned protection of records. I would agree that it is lacking from the plan. The problem is that a lot of these departments don't have their records digitalized. They're all on paper, so it makes it very hard to, I guess, protect those assets. We can get them digitalized. It makes it's a process.
Right.
Like we have permits and records stored upstairs from 1980s. It's a very arduous process to try to get them all scanned into the computer. I personally don't think that should hold the plan up, but maybe it's something we work towards. And when we look at this again in 5 years, we can say, yep, we got all these in the computer, we're good to go.
Is that something, even if we don't have it as part of the plan, that we can have some sort of a side note to make sure that that doesn't fall by the wayside?
Absolutely.
Cause that was some of my follow-up questions is, do we even have the capacity to digitize our records? Or
We
if
do not at this time, no.
And I know we need, a lot of our records have to be on paper as well, so, do we have the right protections for those? Or, I know some of our vaults are, fireproofed and whatnot, but are all of our really important documents in those
Yes, and
protected?
the ones that we keep in our office, we keep in, they're 1 hour, fireproof safe vault. And, would be waterproof for flood. So I feel good about those, and actually, we have, a new closet that's almost finished downstairs in the basement, and then we just got, 3 new fireproof safes donated to us. So we're gonna be able to move some of our records from the annex, which Seth says is adequate, but I'd feel better if they were, in something in the building. So we're getting there, but.
Yeah, I would just feel better knowing that we were looking into especially in this day and age, just anything that we can do to digitize those records. Ask those questions. But yeah, I agree with you, just, we need to have something in place, I don't think it should.
And there may be grant funding available for digitization and everything also, or working with WPI for some of their project-based stuff, or some of the other even, I don't know if Baypath or any of the kids at Wachusett would be interested in doing any of that
I was
also.
gonna say some sort of community service project or something. I know it would be not an exciting job to sit there and scan records in, but
And I realize that there's probably a cost for the storage
Right.
space of maintaining
Yeah.
those. I don't know if there's grants at least.
it's worth looking into.
Your next question was in regards to the veteran service records. When I reached out to them, they just told me that everything is on their personal computer. Again, I'm not in any position to tell them otherwise.
Mhm.
That's just what they told me, so that's again what I put on the plan.
That's one I wanted to bring forward to you, if we should make sure that we have those stored elsewhere on town property.
I think Karen Greenwood has given her records to Nick in the treasure collector's office, so I think, but I'm not positive.
They were temporarily stored there, and then the new agent took them
Oh,
with her
Yeah,
instruction to
yeah,
do
but-
so. Yeah.
yeah, okay.
But if I think to follow up on that, with the turnover that we've had in the past with the veterans agent, having something in town is really, really important. I know Karen did a lot of work to try to create lists of all the Rutland veterans, and so I would hate to lose all of that work down the line.
I agree. And then kind of like the alternate facility, that was coming from all the department heads in each department. Like for the fire department, the only place suitable, and it really isn't the best, is the DPW.
I figured, yeah,
Because where else are we gonna put a bunch of large apparatus?
yeah,
Again, it's not perfect, but we really have no other,
limited.
no other facility we could use.
Yeah.
I can again reach out to all the different department heads and see if, it's been 8 months since I've talked to them last probably about this.
Yeah, the ones that just, other than that, just the fire department, the other ones that stood out to me was, I think it was the assessor, their alternate facility is listed as the town hall where they are. So we would wanna make sure there's a different one where they're not already located, I would assume. And then there were two, I forget which ones it was, but there were two that had the library defined as their alternate locations, and just given all the conversations we've had with the Board of Trustees having authority over the library building, I wanted to make sure that there wasn't any legalities there, or if the Board of Trustees had to make, approve that use in that manner, just those.
We just claim eminent domain. That's all.
Those are the questions I had for those ones.
Alright, yeah, and again, like, this is meant to be like a 72-hour period. So in all essence, if there was some big natural disaster, it's really gonna only be essential workers coming in. So I don't really see this plan going in effect for everybody. I could see it more for, fire, police, DPW. If they had to enact this, they could. That was all Jen's questions that I saw. Do you guys have any?
I got a couple.
Sure.
Thank you, Chief. This seems like a real daunting task to pull all this stuff together. So I give you credit for writing up the basic stuff. But here, and I looked at it, it said, you want to be up and running basically within 12 hours of an event. How do you think, how is that possible?
Practice. So
Okay.
this is kind of step one.
Yep,
So you create the plan and then you gotta exercise the plan. You can do that through tabletop exercises, round table, just having coffee and donuts. But that's kind of step two. So we have this plan, once it gets signed and implemented, we can test it, exercise it, kind of do like a mock drill and see, do all the department heads know what to do? Or if I go down, does my next in chain of command understand where this plan is, how to read it, and how to, take action with it? So that's kind of the next step.
The reason I ask is I've always been concerned for many years living in this town of events and how do we manage those events? Whether it be a major forest fire, whether it be a water problem, because we don't have a lot of source of water, chemical, whatever, I'm trying to, so I love this plan that at least we're doing something to deal with catastrophes out there. So when I ask you the time frame, it's like, if it's doable, that's great. So I guess what you're telling me, you sit up here, the department's kind of just set down here, you coordinate and work with everybody to make sure this plan gets done and goes into fruition,
Essentially.
okay?
Yep.
Is there state help on this?
We do have our local rep, his name is Ray Farron, he's with MEMA. He has been helping me with this, and he's kind of been, a sounding board. In the event of a event where this would need to get enacted, so like, think about this past blizzard down on the South Shore. I don't know for certain, but I'm sure some of them reached into their coup plans and looked like, all right, this is what we have to do. So, yeah, MEMA's help. There's a statewide mobilization plan. There's different teams that you can call in to help you in the event that something catastrophic does happen to the town of Rutland.
Is there a location, I think Framingham is where it is right now, where you have a state location to help coordinate things?
Yeah, so it depends on, again, how bad. So like this past blizzard, they stood up the EOC in the MEMA, the bunker.
Okay,
They go by this thing called ESFs. So how severe a storm or event could be, basically gives them a number. So ESF 1 through 10. Depending on how bad it is, the more people. Each ESF brings in more people to the bunker. The higher you go, the more people come in, and more hands that can help.
so,
So it's not really. They look at it at state level. They don't look at it per municipality.
okay, so are you comfortable with the communication process? That you will get all the information you need and all the support you will need if an event happens?
Currently, no, but that's why we need to exercise the plan.
Okay,
So if we sat down with all the department heads and went through this plan and kind of demonstrated how it's supposed to work, then I would feel comfortable. But you don't know how it's gonna work until you exercise it.
so you've already met with all the department
I
heads?
know,
and
yeah.
everything? Okay. Okay.
So they know this is a thing. We just, we haven't practiced it yet.
How long do you think, I know it's a tough question, but if we're going to implement this thing, God forbid there's how long do you think it will take to get this thing up and running? I know we wanna make it work within 12 hours if something happens, but how long do you think it's gonna take to coordinate everything?
I mean, with the public safety at least and DPW, it should be instantaneous.
Okay,
I don't see it taking very long. Cause let's say it is a blizzard, right? DPW is already working, we're already upstaffed, police already have, many people on duty. So it's just a matter of logistically moving equipment and apparatus around to the appropriate location.
more so than other departments, those are the 3 critical departments that really come into play.
I would say so, yes.
Okay. Okay.
Anybody else?
I just, there's a few that say that there is no alternative location, and then there's at least 1 or 2 that say the alternative location is NA, and can we just kind of go through and streamline that there is no alternative? Because even the ones that say that there's no alternative, it's because everything is available online. I think like the Council on Aging and Recreation highlight those, but then treasurer collectors say that it's NA because everything is available through a computer that has access to collection software. So if we can just kind of streamline the language for all of the alternative, it's a small thing. Or maybe maybe my question should be, is there a difference between there is no alternative and the alternative is NA? I don't know.
I think I can sit down and kind of redefine what that means. Cause again, I just kind of took all the information in.
Yeah.
So maybe if I had a more formalized meeting with each department head and kind of went through it with them, we could kind of come up with a better definition of what that means.
Yeah, I think, I mean, the way I read it, I understand it to, these are the departments that wouldn't need an alternative physical location because they can access everything that they would need for a short term via computers that they could access their software with. But I just think the language varies a little bit across depending on, I don't know which department had answered the questions maybe, or whatever, so just if it can all be, so somebody's not like, well, they don't have it and this one's NA, what's, makes sense.
Follow-up question? Deputy Chief, I don't know the communication system between the fire, police, and DPW. Is there a lot of crossover there, so if something happens, you all communicate on the same line, on the same voice, so to speak? Or do you have to partition it out? Or is there something we can do to make sure you're on that same system?
So police and fire, we already communicate on the same frequency, or we have the ability to. DPW, we don't, but Carl and Chris are very receptive, so if myself or the chief call, they always pick up and we're able to get, what needs to happen, done. Prime example, we lost heat in the apparatus bay. We called up the DPW and we were able to get a plan in motion, pretty instantaneous.
I guess I'm thinking more outreach. In other words, if there is somebody, if a major event happens and you have somebody out here doing something, somebody over here doing something that isn't attached to the department, and they have a problem, how does that problem get communicated to you?
Contacts, phone,
Nothing direct.
nothing direct, no.
Is that possible to make something direct? Like tying into the system, like just having an extra backup cell phone or 3 cell phones if somebody has to go do something. Not cell phones, but radio phones.
It's a good thought. I don't see it being possible.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, just quickly what I'm thinking, we have spare radios that they could use, but not everybody's trained on how to operate a radio and, the proper terminology or what to say. Because one thing you don't wanna do is tie up, airspace.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't need unnecessary transmissions going out. Cell phones, like spare cell phones is great, but I think if we just had a contact list of, a current contact list of all department heads, their phone numbers, and their, successors, which is in the plan, I just didn't include contact numbers.
Okay.
That way, if I need to call the Veteran Services Office, I can, or vice versa. I would just say, cell phones.
They say the emergency plan is only as good as the first minute it activates.
Yep.
After that, everything falls apart. So that's why I'm kind of digging into some of this stuff.
Yeah, and again, coming with, exercising the plan, we'll kind of hopefully work out the kinks and we're able to, create a more solidified plan.
Okay. All right. Are you going to plan on, once this thing is done, coming back to us and giving us an update of how this whole thing is done, it's been approved, here's where we are now?
So let me ask you this, do you want me to create this plan and exercise it before coming back? Or do you want me to make these
I think
updates?
that's up. I wanted something to be efficient, but I think we need to be apprised that I can talk to people in the town when they ask me, I said, yep, it's in place, here's what we're doing, I've already been apprised of it by the chief. So I just wanna feel good about knowing that it's done and in place.
Well, it's not something that can't be updated, right?
Yeah, we can update it as many times
Right,
as we want.
so I think if we can get to a point where we're comfortable, and I think you're looking for a board approval on this, right?
Yeah.
That we can do that, and then Ryan can come up with whatever plans to exercise it and bring back if there's anything that needs to be changed based on that experience or, anything else that's learned.
And I also should have been more clear to start too. So when this plan is finished, it gets uploaded in this thing called the Web EOC. So essentially, it's a database that the state has, where in the event of emergency, the fire department or emergency management directors can request resources. So in the event, like Seth and I are tied up, some other, like north side of town doing something, the fire chief from Ocam can come in, go into Web EOC, find the plan and implement it if need be.
Okay.
So that's kind of, I guess, why I'm here. It needs board approval before I upload it to the state
Okay.
database.
I have one, sorry, this just came into my head, sorry. I didn't notice in the plan, and maybe I missed it, any kind of along Harry's line, communication to the public also as to how to, like, who is responsible for that communication, the streamlined communication. So that was one of the big things at MMA this year, was just like emergency communication and how to triage what information gets sent out, but in the most efficient way to the broader public, and how that information is communicated.
Yeah, so,
And so along the same lines, sorry, to piggyback on Harry, right now I understand that with Chris and Carl and DPW, it's a good relationship. With all the department heads, it's a good relationship. But is there a way to formalize in the outline, or maybe we didn't see the list, I don't think, with all the department heads, but just ensure that it's formalized there, that there's that expectation from the department heads and second, third in line to have these responsibilities, regardless of who the person is. I'm trying to your point, future plan for, it's not always gonna be the people that are here right now.
That actually reminds me, that was one of the other questions I had, is there's specific people defined in the order of succession. Is that something that we need to change to be more position driven? So in the event that we do have staff turnover, that we're not constantly coming back and updating, can that even be done? If we need to,
Yeah.
do you have to include contact information in the plan, or
I
is
mean,
that?
I would prefer contact information and, a name to the face.
Yeah.
Like, you could say fire chief, but, everybody knows Seth, but,
Yeah.
Let's say I'm the new fire chief.
Yeah.
No one, people don't know who I am necessarily. So having like a name to the title kinda, in my opinion, helps.
I wonder, just to piggyback on that, I wonder if in the plan itself, in kind of going through each department, it lists the position, but then if there's a supplemental that could be easily updated as there's any sort of transition within the department, whether it's that includes all the contact,
Like an appendix?
yeah, essentially like an appendix where it names, like, Seth Knight is the fire chief and Ryan Quinn is the deputy fire chief, the cell phones, whatever, and then it's an appendix that would need to be updated rather than going into each individual portion of the plan to update and
Yeah.
potentially miss something there. I don't,
That would make more sense to me. I just would hate to have to get it reapproved just because you need to update because somebody left that position. If it's easier just to have that list that you can just update as those changes are made, that would be.
Alright, so then the order of succession would be fire chief, deputy fire chief, captain, and
yeah,
just leave out the names.
and then an appendix that lists, like,
Who those people currently are.
with the appropriate contact information, which it sounds like you have name and contact information available, but just, I don't know how the rest of the board feels, and I don't know from a implementation process
No,
standpoint.
that's completely fine.
Yeah, and I think just from I'm assuming that once this is approved, this is a public document. So for
You know, I think,
privacy, you might be better able to share the plan without sharing that appendix of
Yeah,
everybody's
just keep it to ourselves.
contact info, yeah.
I think that was a good pickup, because I noticed names that were on here, and I'm thinking, well, what if those names change?
Yeah.
Do we have to?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Is part of the plan doing a reverse 911 if a catastrophe happens?
So that's not in this particular plan. This is more just trying to get back up and running. It does mention, each department can, do a social media post saying this is what's going on. Our office hours are closed, but it doesn't really give a formal, like, we call it in the fire world PIO, Public Information Officer. I would say in a bigger event, we would need to, designate somebody as PIO to do that broad message and get it out to everybody. We want information to come to one source and come out through one source.
I mean, I hate to see you get 27 million phone calls, when maybe we could head that off by having an outreach there right away.
Yeah,
I think in events that have happened in town in the past, it's been the town administrator with the impacted department head or department heads. So kind of everything came through the town administrator, at least initially.
Yeah.
And I think at MMA, that was kind of for a community our size, right, it would be the town administrator and if the town administrator says this is really a fire chief issue, I'm okay with everything going through the fire chief, then that's fine, but it's not just willy-nilly, everybody's saying something different.
and this plan doesn't really specify, but again, if it was a big enough event, we would funnel it through. Heather and,
maybe it's not, I think this was my question as far as the public communication and outreach, and maybe it doesn't belong in this plan, I don't know, but even if there's just a few words that the town administrator, would be the public information officer in in consultation with impacted departments or whatever, I'm not sure the language.
I think that would default to the town administrator bylaw too. You
Right.
could pluck the language right out of that bylaw, which gives me that.
But I just think in an emergency, if people are
Sure.
referencing
Yeah.
a plan here,
Absolutely.
to make the information as readily available and not have to piece it all together.
I guess that's what I mean, is just taking the actual language from the bylaw and putting that into the plan.
Yeah.
So that it makes
Keep it consistent.
it
And maybe it
clear.
doesn't need the details, like we don't, some might need a reverse 911, some might
Yeah.
need just a social media post is okay, or a note on the door, I think it would depend on what the event is.
Mhm.
So. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Ryan, for all the work on this.
Yep, thank you.
Any other,
Let's hope we never need it.
yes,
Oh,
Any other questions on,
good.
so we'll let you update and we'll let Heather know when everything's ready to bring it back and
Sure.
we'll
I was gonna say, are you looking to update now and then come back, or would you feel comfortable making a motion to approve to move forward with the recommended comments?
I guess that's up to the board if you wanna see an updated draft before we approve.
I think
I'm not, okay, I guess I have a question on that, is an updated draft of the things that you're going to do. So, I don't know, if he comes back with an updated draft, we're gonna have discussion on it and then vote, so I don't know if I need an updated draft, if he does what he's going to do, I don't know, so I don't wanna start making time here for something that can be very efficiently, so maybe you can answer that, Ryan.
yeah, I mean, I have my notes.
I personally felt like what we talked about tonight for the changes weren't substantive changes. I think they're important changes, but I don't think that there's anything that would make me feel uncomfortable voting to approve with the conversation that we had, and we have the recording and everything also, so, but Alex, Paul, Jen, I don't know.
Well, no,
I could bring the next draft to Heather, and if she, thinks that needs to come back to the board, she can make that decision.
I mean, if I have questions or anything, I'm gonna put them through Heather, so she can reach out to you on that. Once I have I read it, but I didn't digest it.
Yeah.
So if I have some questions,
So is,
doing it that way is the appropriate way, and
Yeah.
I think that anything else would be us micromanaging, just my
I
opinion.
agree.
Right.
So is the board comfortable approving with the edits, amendments talked about tonight?
approving the plan?
Yes.
No, I'm not.
Oh, that's what we were just talking about.
No, if I get approval from Heather that everything is done, I'll feel comfortable then.
Okay,
I just don't wanna blanketly,
okay, so you would rather just have those come back and
and
bring it back to the board?
well, bring it back to Heather and come back and said, he made all the changes, here's what's done. Do you have any questions about the new stuff? If not, we can say yes or no on it.
Okay, so
That
we'll,
would kind of be does that work for you?
Yeah, I mean,
Yes or no? Does
I would prefer to have it voted on tonight,
voted on to go forward
to
with the
move
plan?
forward.
Oh, I can do that. I just didn't wanna vote on the actual plan itself,
that's what
Well,
we're
that's what I'm
talking
looking
about.
for.
huh?
That's kind of what I'm looking for. I know you're concerned about the plan not being up to par. I'm promising it will be,
Okay,
and I will give the draft to Heather. And, between Heather and I, we can, talk it out and finish the plan. But I am looking for approval just so I can move along with the process and kind of get it uploaded web EOC and, get this plan enacted in case we do have an emergency.
So would you be
I
comfortable if
Yeah,
we did a
A
motion?
motion based on the changes that were asked for tonight, I mean, that's pretty standard and.
And
we do that with a lot
TA
of things.
and town administrator?
So we
Yeah.
will, in the minutes, make sure that we're itemizing the concerns and the requests.
okay.
I'll make sure that the report that Ryan completes identifies and answers all of those, and if I feel that it does, then we'll just move forward and get it uploaded so that we have it on file, should we need it.
Yeah, I don't wanna make you work wait 2 more weeks to have this done and get approval, so, okay. All right,
So I would make a motion to approve the continuity of operations plan as presented by Deputy Chief Quinn tonight, pending the edits which we discussed and final sign off of the town administrator.
Second.
Are you comfortable with that motion?
I'm okay,
Okay,
I'm
okay.
comfortable, yeah.
Alright, we have a motion and a second, any other discussion? Okay, roll call, Alex?
Alright,
Second, aye?
Wait a minute.
that's enough.
Alright, thank you. We have 10 minutes until the public hearing, so if, again, just with the chiefs here, if we can take the professional services agreement out of order. I don't think that will be a long topic. This is just, I'll let the chiefs give the update on the status of the regionalization study for the fire department. But essentially, we'd be looking to sign off on the consultant that will be performing that study this evening. So I'll let the chiefs just give that update.
So we met probably 2 weeks ago. We got 3 bids, quotes if you will, to do the Rutland Berry Ocam regionalization study. We met down, discussed all the proposals. We ended up, deciding on MRI as the best fit to complete the study. So Heather drafted up a awardance letter. We gave it to MRI, and they basically sent back a contract that needs to be signed by the chair of the select board.
I've reviewed the contract. It's okay. It meets the basic procurement standards that we need for this project. Reviewed the submittals, and I think that of the 3 drafts or the 3 submissions that you received, this was by far the most comprehensive, and looking forward to working with MRI on this project.
And just to reiterate, this is a study with paid for with grant funds. Questions?
Can you give me a 10-second snippet of what we're doing here on this?
Yep, so we're looking to regionalize. Call volume is up. Each department has tons of equipment. We're trying to basically be more efficient.
Okay.
So with the study, the MRI, they're gonna look at like administrative functions, so consolidation of debt, finances. Do we do a MOA or do we become a district? And the fire chiefs are gonna look at the operational side. So, how many people do we need on shift? How much apparatus do we need? Where the stations should be. They're not gonna move, but how many calls we're doing, where they are, run cards. So we're gonna look at operations, and MRI is gonna look at all the administrative and finance side of things.
So this will be a district or a,
That is for the study to figure out.
okay,
So I think that this was the initial feasibility study that will look at those various models and make a determination that based on the service that we're looking to provide, which of those models is the best fit. And then we would have to look for additional support to move that process along towards the reality of whichever model. And we would certainly be bringing that all back to you at each step of the way. But the first question is, which model best suits our needs?
okay. Will there be a financial component of that model as well?
The financial component to be expended at this point is a grant, so that's as far as we can go.
Once this is done, whether we regionalize, districtize, or
Oh,
whatever,
absolutely.
how much will the town
Yeah.
save?
So
going-
that's what this feasibility study will hopefully be able to tell us. What are the financial benefits, what are the service benefits, and which of the models can best deliver those expectations.
Okay, thank you at least. townspeople now heard
Yep.
that, so.
Yep.
Okay.
This is just the first step, and really excited to get to see what that opportunity might be.
Okay. Thank you.
Any questions? Not, I'll entertain a motion to authorize myself, Jennifer Ledger, as chair to sign the professional services agreement with MRI on behalf of the board.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, any other discussion? Alright, roll call, Alex.
What I.
Second, aye.
Women and
That's right.
Ledger, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, appreciate it. Alright, we still
Thank you.
have 5
Go
minutes.
have some supper, don't you?
Have a good night, thank you.
Thank you both. We got about 5 minutes till the hearing. I think we have a couple of minutes if we wanna do the appointment for Upper Blackstone. We'll go back to our top of our list. I will say for appointments and resignations, we did get a last minute notice just after posting the agenda. The applicant for 4th of July committee withdrew her application, so there's nothing to appoint there. And for the Board of Registrars, we are gonna defer that appointment to the March 16th meeting. We just didn't get all of the documents, specifically the letter of recommendation for this evening, so we'll just.
Wasn't that a renewal anyways?
That was an appointment, reappointment.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so we'll just bump that out to,
So she's already in the position.
yes, yes. So the last one that we have is the Upper Blackstone Clean Water Board of Directors. It's my understanding that we are looking to appoint Chris, the DPW Director, Chris Kolowski, as the primary representative for the Upper Blackstone Clean Water Board of Directors, and in a separate motion, Heather would be the alternate member for this particular board.
I think, if I may, Jen,
Mhm.
I think we've gone back and forth between having the TA as the primary representative and the DPW director as the primary representative. I don't know if maybe Heather or someone can speak to kind of best practice and what's.
So the Board of Directors is largely made up of the DPW directors as the primary representative. They're the ones who are working hands-on with this program. I'm certainly happy to take either role, but I think that if Chris is interested and willing to serve, I'm more than happy to let him take the lead. Certainly, if he's unable to attend or would like me to sit in for whatever reason, I'm happy to be there as the alternate.
I appreciate that, nothing issue, but I think Chris and his qualifications sitting on water, sewer, and I think would be a good add to that, yeah.
And the majority of the other board members are his peers.
Okay. So he hasn't been approached yet on this as well?
No, he has.
Okay.
I would never sign a department head up for something that I have not already sought their
Well, you had said
Yeah,
something
sure.
about, well, if he's willing to take it, so that's why I didn't know if you had.
since he is willing to take the
Okay.
responsibility, I'm happy to let him take the lead.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
just curious.
Yeah.
I figured it was mostly DPW directors, and given we had some
Well,
turnover.
I think that in some communities, the DPW directors would prefer not to have another meeting, but I think that, again, given the nature of the subject matter, Chris certainly has a lot more tangible knowledge of the topics, and I plan to attend all of the meetings so I can educate myself and certainly be ready to step in should he have a conflict, so.
Do we know how many meetings will be required of him?
They meet monthly.
Okay.
But they're very well organized. I've sat in on the meetings in the past, and they move very quickly.
Do they provide dinner?
They do not, but they are daytime meetings, and there is a Zoom option.
Okay.
Alright, if there's no other questions, then I will entertain a motion to appoint DPW Director Chris Kolofsky to serve on the Upper Blackstone Clean Water Board of Directors until June 30th, 2026, and to appoint Heather Butler to serve as the alternate member until the same date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, any other discussion? Roll call, Alex?
Second, aye.
That's in it.
Ledger I. Thank you very much. Alright, I have some things to read, so we are just about there, so I will, we'll move into the public hearing that we have for this evening. I will declare the public hearing is open. This is a notice of cable television public hearing. Please take notice that the Select Board of the Town of Rutland, Massachusetts, as issuing authority for a cable television license under MGL Chapter 166A, will hold a public hearing on Monday, March 2nd, 2026 at 6:45 p.m. The public hearing will be held at the Rutland Public Library, lower level at 280 Main Street, Rutland. The purpose of the public hearing will be to determine whether to issue a cable television license to Charter Spectrum. All applications, reports, statements, and license drafts to be considered at the hearing that constitute public records under state law are available for public inspection during regular business hours and for reproduction at a reasonable fee. Members of the public are invited to attend and be heard on the topic: A, whether the current cable operator is in full compliance with its existing cable license, and B, what are the town's future community cable related needs. And just to add some additional information on what we're looking for as far as this hearing and the information for feedback and comment, a PEG, which is Public Educational and Governmental Cable Access Contract Negotiation Public Hearing, is a formal meeting where local residents provide feedback on their cable service provider's performance and future needs for a new franchise agreement is signed. The purpose of the hearing is for one, performance review, evaluating if the current cable operator has met past obligations. Two, community needs assessment, gathering input on what residents want, such as high definition channels, local sports coverage, or expanded community needs.
Recording in progress.
Three, funding discussion, determining the PEG
Recording
access fee,
stopped.
which is usually 1 to 5% of gross revenue used to fund local media centers and equipment. And four, legal transparency, ensuring the negotiation process follows federal and state laws requiring public participation. So as everybody knows, we've been going through the process to negotiate a new contract. This is just the next step in that process to hold this public hearing and get community input. So to assist with any potential questions, we have our Director of Cable here, Rose Wine, to answer questions. And I don't see anybody on Zoom as far from a representative from Spectrum.
I would like to ask some questions, but I think it would better be served in executive session on contract issue.
Okay.
Yeah, this is more just the feedback on cable needs that I mentioned, not contract
Okay.
discussion, yeah. So the hearing is open.
I'd also like to introduce Jacob Conway, who is our studio production manager. Jim Kelly, who is our the cable advisory. Board member. You're a board member, and Paul Mattson, who is also a cable advisory board member. So you have 4 people with a lot of experience here to answer any questions about the ascertainment capital project needs.
So I will open it for public comment. Is there anybody here that would like to comment on?
Questions? I've been looking at the finances, and could you just kind of tell me what type of capital expenditures you're looking at this year, next year, the year after that, and what the equipment is? And because of maybe some issues we've been having, we need to update. And then what do you see as the revolving fund, if you will, the money coming in? Will that support that?
Yes, so we are looking at 5 projects ahead of us, a couple that are immediate, a few that will be long-term that include the capital request. We'll be partnering with a group to help manage our issues and prevent them moving forward. A lot of the equipment that was installed before we joined the team, before the rest of our team was there, was before our time, and we've been trying to learn as best as we can, but we've learned that the equipment is above our knowledge level, but we found someone who knows not just this equipment very well, how to maintain it and keep it upgraded, but he's also extremely familiar with the surrounding towns and has partnered with them too. So some of the projects we're looking at first up will be our ongoing audio disconnection issue. We know our audio hasn't been super clear. It's also been disconnecting entirely, and that's of course not a standard that we want to set. We would like to make our meetings more accessible. So some of the issues that he'll be able to fix right away are the audio disconnection issue, and that's something we can afford up front. It doesn't need to go through a capital request model as far as I know. And doing a service plan with them moving forward to handle any other issues that come up, to make sure our equipment is up to date, make sure that it's just well taken care of. In terms of longer term projects, 2 of the issues that we've been running into that will help keep things above board would be related to our network. We share a network with the library upstairs. It turns out we've been learning the hard way the last several years. By sharing a network with them, that has led to a lot of our issues. So some of the network traffic, whenever people upstairs are using the network at the same time as us recording a meeting, because sometimes we're working at the same time as the library being open, especially when there's that sort of 6 to 8 p.m. window when a meeting starts here, and we're live streaming, we're pouring things out onto our live stream, we're recording things. Sharing a network has caused some of the issues I've mentioned, and ones that have popped up that people aren't as aware of that we work on. So the group that we'll be partnering with, their names are Enervi for reference and for record. They're helping us to, in the future, if all goes well and is approved, we would like to re-architecture or restructure the network so that we're still able to have the network from the library, but have a separate traffic lane, so to speak, so that we're not sort of bumping roads with upstairs when they need it and when we need it at the same time. And that's a longer 2-part project that would need to go through the request, the financial request we mentioned. And then the last part would be the computer that we use to work through our files, to do post-production, to even manage all of the files. So if you ever needed, for example, an original recording, everything is stored and kept on this computer. It also has its own network connected. Some of the equipment is a bit outdated and it causes very long times for us to work with these files. All of the meetings, the longer they are, the bigger the files are, and the slower our computer is, the older it gets. So we reached a point where we kind of desperately need to upgrade that computer in order to keep functioning and to not let things take so many days before we can even share a meeting with the public. So those are just a summary of some of the bigger projects. Did I answer all of your questions, Harry?
Actually, you gave me some. You answered quite, but you gave me some more questions. Can you tell me how old the computer is?
Well, it's not a matter of there's 1 year for the whole computer. I believe it was built by one of our former colleagues, so each component is a certain age. So some of the components, for example, that at the time, I don't know what year they were from. Jacob might know more than I do, but at the time it was great. That's what was needed. It did just the job. But for example, some of the components are they're not what we need now to keep up with our workflow. So we're very fortunate that we have the option to work straight from the computer, to physically be here, but to also do some edits or work from home. And whenever we try to do anything, whether we're in person or not, the computer can't keep up with the processing that we need. And that's just something that happens over time, even outside of this work as a videographer, as a photographer. Media files just get larger over time, as just to keep up with quality and preserving audio and video files.
So when you videotape and you store that in the computer, does that stored information then go out to the public under the cable network or YouTube? I mean, is that an issue there, that's consuming too much time, it's causing problems because your computer's too old?
It's more that, how would I word it? Jacob, do you have any thoughts you want to say?
I think it's more that it's less of how old this equipment is and more of how much bandwidth that nowadays these types of programs and equipment need to run. So like Rose was saying, the only reason why it's outdated is because we don't have enough. The equipment basically has a hard time doing the projects that we need to do. So it takes more time to do those projects. But if we upgrade, it'll be significantly quicker. It's like instead of waiting a couple days, we can get you guys something in a couple hours.
And
Processing
even,
speed.
yeah, even if we're not editing a video, just to grab the original file from whenever something is made here in the live stream or in that camera, to even grab the file takes time and processing power. So even if we were just saying not editing things, we would still need the processing power just to run and render and use the videos and look at them.
Think of it like, the term we use at my work is that blue circle of death that just keeps spinning because it's thinking and thinking and thinking and processing.
I know nothing about videographing and all this stuff, okay? But it sounds like you need a special computer for this, or an off-the-shelf computer would do it.
It's off the shelf can work, but there's, like Rose was saying, but our colleague built it. So there's specific components that do specific things, so we would have to do research if we wanted to go off the shelf rather than build our own thing.
Okay.
So the partner that we're working with had even laid out some options based off of our costs, what we can afford, to say, you know, this one has these components that will make your life easier, but this one will really make your life easier. So like it's kind of out looking at how much can we afford, how much would be worth our time, how much would really help out the town as we're sort of providing these services.
Yeah, I guess in my brain, I'm trying to tie the computer to what's going on at our town meetings, how soon we can get stuff out to people, how much time consuming it is that you have to work extra hours to get these things done,
Yes.
when a simple piece of product will solve a lot of problems.
Yeah, so that's why all of these projects have been laid out as, you know, there's a couple that will help solve our immediate audio issues, for example, and there's a few that are a bit longer term, but they will help us in the long run. They will help us with issues we're having now and might have in the future. With the computer, I'll say that currently we are usually up pretty late, just trying to work with the files because the computer can't keep up the way we want it to. So if there's ever a multiple day delay in getting a video up, it's because we are quite literally waiting for the computer to finish its job. Or we're troubleshooting other issues that come up.
I know we're working through the budget, so I know Heather will work with you on those finances and stay within our budget what we're doing, but it sounds like it's not gonna be cheap to do.
Some of it is not as bad as we thought it would be, I will say.
Okay.
But yes, Heather and I are working closely on making sure it's something we can either afford, or if not, what are some alternative paths we can explore.
Maybe we can buy something from IBM that, you know, they have master mainframes or something, you know.
Right. Anything long-term with the contract, we will be able to get Charter or Spectrum to pay for any capital. Like the last time we did it, we got three payments for equipment. Okay, and those payments had to be used for equipment. Okay, and that's a lot of what you see in there. The day-to-day money that we get from the people in the town and everything else, when we get money from Charter, that's used for operations and what they're doing. If you guys, anything that breaks down or anything like that, we can use to, you know, get another computer. But if we're actually updating a server or updating a system, you know, we wanna identify that now, and get Spectrum to pay for it.
So, to everybody's point, thank you for clarifying that that you gave me a great segue, Jim. And Rose, thank you for going through, and Jacob, to identify sort of the logistics of why these upgrades are important. So we, as part of this public hearing process, entering those needs into the record and identifying the benefits of those capital improvements. That information will be captured by our attorneys who are putting the finishing touches on the contract document that Paul has worked so hard on to get us to this point. And this is really sort of the culmination of this whole process, is identifying what our capital needs are so that we can then submit that to Charter Spectrum. And they will hopefully say, absolutely, Rutland, we would love to write you a check for that, for those capital needs. The initial program improvements that Rose identified, we can do within our existing appropriation. We have a capital line, so we're gonna move forward on some of those. I think, to Jim's point, those are maintenance issues that we should be using our local funds for. And so we're gonna get those items checked off and then hopefully be able to use capital contract funds for some of the bigger capital investments. And I think that this is a really great collaboration of efforts, and I appreciate everybody's work so far.
If I
Thank
may, may I ask a clarifying question? If I understand correctly, then the contract is I think proposed 10-year contract. And so within that contract, there's a section that we're talking about that would be capital equipment that ideally we're trying to guesstimate what we're going to need for the next 10 years, capital equipment wise. And then we also will get whatever the negotiated percent is as PEG access return from any Spectrum Charter paying customers bill, and that percent is being negotiated as well.
Right.
And those are two separate
Those are
payments, funds, sorry.
But no, yes, you're exactly right. And that's the part that Paul has worked hard on, is identifying what that percentage increase should be for the paying subscriber portion. And Rose and Jacob have done a fantastic job of putting together that ascertainment capital list. And that package is being, once we finish this public hearing process, will be submitted as a total package to the cable company.
Thank you.
And then it'll probably sit on somebody's desk for way too long, but we're really optimistic that we're at the finish line of this whole renegotiation process.
And just for the public's clarification, the PEG access percent that is being negotiated is a part of Spectrum's set billing price. It's not, Rutland is getting charged an additional, I'm gonna throw an arbitrary number out there, an arbitrary percent because that's what their PEG access is. It's
Correct.
it just, I don't want the public to think that if we're able to negotiate a higher percent, that then they're going to be charged that higher percent.
It's already part of their existing bill.
That's part of the contract. I've negotiated a higher percent payback to the town.
But it shouldn't affect their bill going up, for example.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate all the work that everybody's done on this. I know it hasn't been easy, and I think kind of trying to look, this is the first time I think as a board, I haven't been on for the previous negotiations, so I think that this is really beneficial to hear kind of your plan for capital side, just to hear that what we're looking at in the next 10 years as far as where we are now and where we hope to be. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
I was only gonna, there's no one here. And so
Right.
just some of the other chatter, and I think that this goes a little bit along with the public hearing percent, is not so much, I haven't really heard anything about like channels or anything that people wanna hear. Obviously, they get a little antsy and frustrated when the big, some of the bigger networks are in negotiations with a cable provider. And I know that that's generally outside of our contractability, because that happens over the course of time. And then also just that I think it's obvious more and more people are not subscribing to cable, they're using internet but not cable. And so is there conversation, and it doesn't need to be here, but to still capture those users?
It would be a legislative process, and certainly it would be wonderful if the legislators would pick that up and carry that forward, because it certainly is an issue and is impacting the, so the whole product is funded through Spectrum users, or through the cable users. However, so many people take advantage of and are able to access the programming through various other methodologies, including YouTube and just the live streaming, and which is wonderful that we can provide that. But those formats are not subsidized by the monies that we receive. So we are at a bit of a crossroads, and we'll continue to have to look at how we best support financially this product, because I don't think it will be sustainable long term, and I'm going to go ahead and just sort of declare that it is not going to be sustainable long term through the cable contract process. But I think it certainly is a true benefit to the community, and just making sure that the product that we're providing is something that people want to invest in. And I think that's where we're really making a large investment in not only the financial aspect of it, but the resources of the staff who are willing to sort of dig in and do that research and find better ways. So.
I appreciate that, and
Yeah.
a lot of this is just more chatter that I
Yeah,
hear
no,
around
absolutely.
town, and because I thought maybe some people would hear or submit
Yeah.
something.
We've been
so-
working so hard behind the scenes since I've started working here, and it's a daily conversation that we're having as to how to make this product the best that it can possibly be, and so.
And I want to commend everyone, because hearing within the region how many people really appreciate the fact that if they have meetings here, that they're accessible on multiple platforms, and they're archived for availability on YouTube and everything, and that we do a very good job with a lot of our boards and committees, and not.
I don't know many communities that provide as much meeting coverage as the town of Rutland does. And I honestly don't know how we do it with the number of actual bodies that are here to do that work. It's a tremendous amount of work, and I think that'll be a discussion for another day as we look at how this department evolves and what our expectations are and what our abilities are to fund it. But that's a conversation for a different day. But that is very much a wonderful resource that we have, is the amount of coverage that these individuals provide for us.
And if I know you're also working on some more creative programming as well, and I think that's great and really wanted in the community as well. I think there's a number of us appreciate all the meetings and the ability to watch them on YouTube or whatever. But I think also having the more fun events televised, and production as a production, and some other more creative pieces, I think are really important also. And I know you're making big strides for that, so I appreciate that as well. And maybe we can better utilize the studio space, since that's some great space to actually utilize for community programming as well.
Is it okay if I speak to that a little bit more too?
I'm fine with it, but
Oh yeah, just kind of adding to what Leah said, if you're not familiar, we do have a great deal of mobile equipment. So for example, the camera here is considered a backup camera for today's meeting in case our network settings don't cooperate with us. But we are also able, and we have been using the cameras to do other creative projects that Leah mentioned. So for example, we have been invited to film different groups that organize their events. So for example, this month we'll be filming the Rutland Historical Society's Rutland's Influential Woman event. So they appreciate having that as an archive, but it also means people who can't physically be there can watch and tune in, or watch a recording later. We also started recording some of the summer concert series, or even making marketing material for them. So if they want to encourage more people to come, there's shortened versions of the material, so we're not capturing audio that would conflict with any copyright laws, but we can use footage that would encourage people to see what fun it is to go to the summer concerts, for example. So we are making ourselves quite busy in other ways, but we truly enjoy that as a team. Most everyone on our team has videography experience and are quite creative, so we enjoy offering all kinds of services to the town, from meeting coverage to some of the more creative projects to whether it's even an informational video. If a department needs a training video, we're more than equipped and willing to do that.
So there's
Just an
certainly-
answer to that too is, a number of people have come up to me over the years and said, can you guys do anything but meetings? Okay, so in other words, it was one meeting after another, and so on and so forth. And finally now, we're getting to the point where we have some staff and we can start to expand and do some of these things. So this is one of the bigger points that have come about now within the last year or so. So now, things are starting to pick up and we're starting to move in a direction where they can see things other than meetings.
I think it's a good point. I mean, there's obviously a community desire for it from our other organizations, and if we can continue to get the funding that we need to operate and provide the services, that's ideal, right? That's what you said, hopefully the legislature picks things up and makes some changes with where the industry is right now, but.
And then, I'm sorry, I'm just looking back at the purpose of the hearing kind of, and
Yep.
I think performance review, I realize that Spectrum Charter kind of has the hold in Central Mass and there's not a whole lot of other options. I think more recently, Spectrum has been responsive to any sort of concerns, and this is probably more on the internet side than the television side, although I think the television side is also included in any issues that the users are experiencing, much more so than they may have been maybe even pre-COVID. So I think everybody is struggling with the cost of everything and not having any competition. That doesn't help, but I think for the most part they are generally responsive from an end user's perspective. It's not to say that there's not hiccups with any of it. There definitely are days or events that cause them, but they seem to be more responsive than previous. So
If I may, 10 years ago on the last contract, or the contract that we're working under now, I mailed out letters to 3 different cable companies to see if anyone was interested in taking over the town of Rutland. I got not one reply, okay? So in other words, okay, so everybody has their territory, and this is their territory, and some of the towns are split for different reasons. One of them has a river running through it, and the other one was split because of territorial boundaries and this sort of thing. So, there are things that are different because they are structured that way, and yet, trying to get somebody to sit down and talk with you about taking over the town cable system, absolutely nobody replied.
In listening to you, the work that you've done, put together, this was the first time I heard a total package of what you're able to do with going out, and it sounds like you're really working hard to make this a premier type of organization in the area. And the reason I say it is because I get a feeling of pride of working in that department, and how hard you want that to be number one. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Harry. We also care about our team and making sure that we know in the positions, they tend to, I'm forgetting the word, but just rotate quite a bit of people coming in and out. It's not anyone's dream job, but it's something we try to make it a desirable job and a long-term option for people. So we do our best to make it something that people want to work for and be part of for a long time, and then have fun with it, but also keep connecting and serving residents.
Okay, thank you.
The previous temporary town administrator that we had sat with me and we talked one morning at length. And at the conclusion of the discussion, he said, I gotta tell you, I've seen some of these other towns and what they do, and he said, you have a 5-star operation here.
We
So,
do.
you know.
Yep.
I think that made us feel a whole lot better about the way things have been going.
Right, any other questions from the board? Any other questions from the public, comments?
Was there anything that came in through the office, either through, I
No.
think there was a Facebook post or something, but there wasn't anything on any of the,
Nothing that was relevant to our
topic tonight.
purpose of the hearing.
Thank you.
So we'll get a transcript of this to council to be included with our contract package, and we can check all the boxes. Good job, Paul. We did it.
Okay,
Great, thanks, Paul.
I'll drink to that. Oh, never mind.
All right, if there's no other questions, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? Roll call, Alex,
Second, aye.
Whitman, I
Matt's and I.
Ledger, aye. All
thank
right,
you all for
Yes.
all your work.
thank you very much, really appreciate it, glad to hear everything that's going on.
Thank you, Jim.
Great. I am quickly going to, is anybody here for public comment? Thought they might have been, but they must have just been here for the public hearing. All right, if there's nobody here for public comment, if the board is agreeable, since we have Anita here, can we swing down to the annual town election to just briefly talk about in-person early voting?
So moved.
Excuse me.
Anita is here, the Board of Registrars met to talk about when to hold, or if to hold, recommend holding in-person early voting for the prior to the annual town election. Do you wanna give us your updates with what you?
Sure. Ben and I started discussing this probably even last year because MGO and the legislature requires that we do vote by mail and have to offer that for our municipal elections. But we can opt in to in-person early voting. And not too many communities our size in the area did it initially. It's only been in effect for a couple of years. But Ben and I started talking and of the pros and cons, and we pretty quickly realized that they were pretty much all pros. The one con was basically the expense. If we had to use additional election workers to staff it. But we feel with the volume that we will probably get, I think Ben said that we had like 48 mail by vote ballots last year. So I can't imagine that we would have any more than that, you know, if they voted in person. But we might take some of the people that were asking for us to mail a ballot, and they might prefer to, you know, come in and vote in person. And so we are confident that we could staff it just the two of us, and so there wouldn't be any additional expense. And we would just offer it between 8 and 4:30, so our regular hours for Monday through Thursday. And so the biggest pros were like basically consistency, because as you know, it's very, very popular for state elections and other elections. So a lot of people already assume that it's available, you know. We can still offer, there is still the regular absentee process, but a lot of people don't seem to take advantage of that. They would rather come and put the ballot right into the tabulator. And to tell you the truth, we would prefer that too, because I think as Ben mentioned as part of the budget process, I know he mentioned as part of the budget process, we have to handle any vote by mail ballots like probably 10 times, 12 times. So this would make it, if more people would gravitate to being in person, it would really streamline it, and you know, the ballots in there and counted, and then we just total them and add them in with the rest. And And so I think that people would appreciate that. The other thing is that I think that's a good chance that it would increase voter turnout, which is always a good thing, because as you know, we don't have stellar turnout, but we're no different than any other town. But this might help even by a little bit, so we thought that that was the way to go. And basically, last year we had 729 mail-in, no, that was not last year, sorry, that was the, like, a November election, so that really doesn't come into play here, but I guess because it's not gonna cost any more money or any more labor, it's a good idea that we vote, if you decide to do it, vote to try it this year, see how it works, maybe we give it this year and maybe another year, and try to really promote it, because I think the biggest plus would be to get more people out there and voting, so.
Just for confirmation, it would be for the week prior to the annual election, so it would be Monday, May 4th through Thursday, May 7th, in regular office hours, 8 to 4:30.
And that would be the whole week during that time,
Right,
those 4
and
days.
the motion would need to spell out the exact days and times.
Question? How many a day do you get? And is it held in the bottom of the town hall?
We would be able to do that if we felt we got busy, but we have a couple things we can move around in our office, and we've even at times put one of the ballot boxes out in the lobby. So if it's really slow, we can just do it in our office, but if not, one of us could be downstairs, so that we felt that would be adequate.
Do you get quite a few people coming in early over the last couple of years? Have you had a lot of people come in?
Well, we haven't had in person for our annual election, but it is very, very, very popular for state elections, and it's never gonna go away. It's just gonna get increasingly popular.
Yeah, the reason I ask is, some people during that time frame go on vacation, so they don't wanna be bothered mailing it in,
Exactly.
so they wanna get there and do it ahead of time. So that's why I'm thinking, over the past, have you had quite a few people come in and do that?
Yeah, we definitely do. And I think if we, really publicized it, we would see the numbers going up, and hopefully people that, and some people don't trust the mail or don't, trust the process. They're afraid that we're not gonna get their ballot in the tabulator, which we definitely do, but for them to be able to come in and know it's in the system and voted, and we can't, we're not able to, we have to wait until the early voting period is over before we even run to see, the results of the election, so that they certainly, it wouldn't be wise to, if somebody could say, oh, we've had this many people vote early by, in person, and this is the results, that could skew, the regular voting day, so we wouldn't be doing anything like that.
Well, I for one would hope we have a huge turnout.
It would be nice
What's our average, 1,500 on average?
when we have like a ballot question
So let's shoot for
or a couple of good,
2,000.
a couple of good races, and we've got,
Let's get more.
yes, we ran the March 1st population figure today, and we're at 820 people, and that translates to about 7,500 voters, so we're really lacking. There's a lot of people out there that
Yeah,
don't,
yeah, I know. It's just,
that would be the
so
goal.
maybe this particular election day, they'll come out.
I hope so.
I bet they will.
Okay, I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
I'm all for it. I think especially given that it's offered for any of the state or national elections. I think, something someone said to me a long time ago when we first moved to town was that local government in Massachusetts especially, and these small towns where we have town meeting form of government, but also the local elections, is the truest, most pure form of democracy. And so I would like to try to remove as many barriers as possible to get people from all backgrounds to be able to feel comfortable and
come out to
validated to exercise their right to vote.
And that's why, for years, we would come to your board to ask whether we should open at 10 or 7 o'clock. And then we finally stopped doing that because it's just inconsistent and it's gonna turn the voter off. So I think that this is part of the same reasoning.
I like the fact that we're not gonna get anybody extra to pay to do this.
I'll see if it
Thank
gets,
you, Anita.
if it
I
gets,
like
if it
that.
got really popular, then we might be forced to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But I think we're a long, long ways from that.
Okay.
So Ben and I can handle it. Heck, he can handle most things by himself, so.
Any other questions from the board? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to, for the select board pursuant to MGL chapter 54 and any other applicable laws, vote to authorize in-person early voting for the annual town election scheduled for May 11th, 2026 to be conducted at Town Hall on the following dates and times: Monday, May 4th, 8 to 4:30 p.m., Tuesday, May 5th, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., Wednesday, May 6th, 8 to 4:30 p.m., and Thursday, May 7th, from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., with the town clerk authorized to administer said early voting.
So moved.
Second. Motion is second. Any other discussion? Right, roll call. Alex.
Vote aye.
Second, aye.
Wait a minute.
Mattson,
Ledger, aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anita. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hope you're not here too
Just,
late.
have you worked out how you're gonna be advertising this early voting?
Mostly just through the website and social media. Tamika's a big help.
And the sign out front?
The sign out
Okay.
front.
Okay,
And word of mouth, hopefully.
Hopefully.
okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, jumping back up to communications, member comments, announcements, and town administrator update. A few things on my side. For our residents, the town moderator is seeking new members to serve on the finance committee. There's currently, or there will be, 2 vacancies, so for anybody interested, you can reach out to our town moderator, Randy Jordan. Information on those seats can be found on the town website under the news and announcements banner. There's been a couple of questions more recently, but motor vehicle excise tax bills have been issued and will be due April 1st. And just for resident information, those vehicle valuations are determined by Mass RMV, so town staff are unable to answer any questions pertaining to how those values were calculated. Just keep that in mind. I'd like to extend our thanks to the DPW for all of their efforts, especially with all the recent snowstorms that we've had. It's been quite a winter so far. So we just want to thank them for the great job that they've done. It's been a long winter, so we appreciate everything that they do. There's the public info sessions for the budget have been posted on the website for anybody that's interested in attending. I believe those, not all of them, but many of them will likely be recorded, the ones at the library.
Yep.
So they will be available for viewing for anybody that can't get to them. And any budget related information can be found on the budget and financial information tab of the town website. And last update I have is that the charter committee has a draft charter. So the document has been posted on our town website, and there's also a form that residents can access to submit feedback if they would like to review that document, provide any feedback that they might have for the charter committee. So that form for comments is going to be open through March 10th. And residents are invited to attend the charter committee's March 11th meeting as well if there's any feedback that they would like to provide. And we will also be looking to meet with some representatives of the charter committee at the end of this month, just to have that inter-board communication, and they can give us their updates and answer any questions.
Good.
Any of the other board members have anything they would like to add?
I will just make a comment about what's going on in Holden. We have no effect on that other than the fact that a farming business in Holden is being affected, who also has a business in Rutland. So I wish, whatever happens there, I wish them well and that they're able to continue their business.
Any other comments? Okay, we'll turn it over to Heather for her town administrator update.
Thank you. So to piggyback on the public information sessions, thank you for mentioning those, Jen, in your report. We've started a series at the senior center. I'm meeting with seniors on Monday mornings during their regular coffee and conversation. The first one was today. It was well attended. There were probably we started with three residents, and by the time we wrapped up a couple of hours later, we had about 14 people. Everybody was asking fantastic questions and really keeping me on my toes and giving me an opportunity to learn more about what individuals have for concerns, and even more importantly, what their priorities are. So I certainly encourage residents that you don't have to be a senior to attend, but that will be every Monday morning starting at 9:30 for the month of March. And then in April, we'll transition to lunches. So for those who don't want to get up and get to the coffee, there'll be April noontime discussions. Hopefully we'll still have things to talk about. So your municipal aggregation program, this is the program that was adopted by your town meeting, I believe last year, to provide a lower cost rate for the supply of your electricity, has been adopted by the DPU. Which is great news, and that went through very quickly in comparison to other communities who have really lagged in that DPU approval process for multiple years. So we met with Good Energy last week, and we've determined a rollout plan, which wonderfully will be handled mostly by the Good Energy company themselves. The residents will be notified in the next couple of months with a program rollout to be effective in May, June, which is great, just in time for the air conditioning season. So we're really expecting some positive feedback about that. We have hired an additional senior van driver and a van dispatch person to keep up with the growing need for senior transportation from the senior center. Those positions are funded through the grant program that was written and is managed by our Council on Aging director. So it's a wonderful service that we can provide to our residents that does not cost us anything operational out of our regular budget. And then finally, we are ready to issue the RFP for the Woodhouse project. And just as that is getting off the ground and off to the central registry, I'll be bringing you another RFP for realtor services that is connected to a tax title property that we have just been issued final judgment on and will be taking ownership of in the next 30 to 60 days. That is a highly regulated RFP process, so there won't be a lot of room for input, but certainly as the town's chief executives, I'd like you to have a look at it and know that it's going out. So we'll have that for you for your next agenda. And that is my report for this evening. I'm always available to answer questions or provide updates to any questions that you have now, but that's all I prepared.
I just want to add one thing, if I may. I've been talking with Spectrum and our contacts through, and we've been talking about the rule is if you are over 65, you have to go down to Spectrum's office on Barber Avenue with certification that you're overage, so on and so forth. So one of the things that I started out working on and has not been told no yet, is to have Spectrum come to Rutland Senior Center like twice a year to sign up any people who would like to sign up for charter senior discounts, okay? So we're still working on this with Spectrum itself, but so far the results have been encouraging.
Wait a
Great,
minute.
great.
Senior gets a discount with charter?
Yeah, you get it over 65, you can go down to 301 Barbara Avenue,
Okay,
bring your birth certificate or something that says
well, they just look at you.
I know. So at
Okay.
any rate, yeah.
All right.
Any other questions for Heather? Moving into old business, we have a policy review topic for this week. Since we've had a couple of things come up more recently, put the appointment policy back on. We had some feedback and some comments. More so around, are there any modifications that we might wanna consider if there's scenarios to waive the in-person or Zoom requirement for the appointees, such as, for example, if we're appointing a town employee to like this evening with Director Kolofsky, just making it official if it's a town employee that we don't require their in-person or Zoom attendance for those appointments, or if there's any other scenarios, in the case of for example, next meeting we have somebody that's seeking a reappointment, is that a scenario where we would consider not having them come in? Or is it still something that the board feels they would like to have more often than not?
So previously held position, just moving into just a reappointment.
And I would like to, just as far as a process, while it would be, it's still considered a vacancy, even if they're seeking to a reappointment to the same board. So I just wanna make sure that there's not I would not be seeking to change that it's an automatic reappointment just because it's the same person. It still would go through the same process of looking at all the potential candidates that would be interested.
Yeah, and I also think that if it's a new board, I would think the new board would wanna see the person that they're appointing to be in person. 'Cause
Oh yeah, and I'm not saying that we would still have the requirement that they attend a
Okay.
meeting. This would just be more for, they've met, they've gone to that board, they've expressed their interest, they have submitted their letter of interest, and that board has met and voted to recommend this person be appointed. So this is the process where it's coming to us. The policy states that we need to have them either in person or on Zoom in case there's any questions that the board may have for them. Are there any scenarios that the board would consider waiving that appearance?
I can't think of any personally.
No, I can't either.
Only because if we're going to ask people who aren't doing reappointment, because like you said, it's an annual appointment then, or 2 or 3 years, then they really should follow the same guidelines as everybody else who's coming in for appointment, so. That's my 2 cents.
No, and I 100% understand. I just wanted to bring it forward because we had a situation recently with the earthworks where we moved forward with appointing the Board of Health representative and waived that in person because they weren't, actually, I don't think any of them, Planning Board, Board of Health, and Concom.
Yeah, I mean,
But are those, if they're already seated on another board, is that a scenario?
if we're treating it as an appointment that they're gonna meet, if we're just saying that we're gonna reappoint you, that's one thing. But if we're saying we're gonna throw you into the pile and we're gonna decide to see if you're worthy of reappointment, then yes, I think that person should either be on Zoom or in person.
If I may, I am in the minority, I think, on this. I think that we getting letters of interest and or CVs, resumes, whatever, as well as the recommendations from the appointing board or committee should suffice. And I think that it's a lot to ask people to attend in person a select board meeting when Sometimes if not everybody's there, then the board's voted to hold the appointments because not everyone was there because they wanted or whatever. But I think for earthworks especially because and for boards that request a designee from like earthworks requests designees from certain other already seated boards and committees, I think that those boards and committees are voting to who they want their representative on earthworks to be. So I don't think in that case that I don't think in any case they have to be in front of us, but I think in that case they definitely don't have to be because it's already called out that we need that earthworks needs a representative from planning board and Concom and Board of Health, and if those boards and committees are voting amongst themselves who's interested in doing that and B who they want on that, then I think that's in that situation specifically. Like I said, I think I'm in the minority as far as we're already asking for letters of interest. Oftentimes more and more we've been getting CVs, kind of cover letters, highlighting their interest or expertise in that, so I don't necessarily need them here. I think Rutland is one of the minority communities that is still expecting the appointees to be in a select board meeting for the appointment. But that's me personally, and I realize that I think I'm in the minority of that.
I 100% agree. I think that we already have trouble getting people to volunteer for these things. Asking them to do one thing more that's unnecessary just adds to the difficulty of getting people. I get that it's not a big ask, but people's time is valuable, and asking people to give up additional time is just not conducive to increasing volunteerism. I'm not sure if that's a word, but you know what I mean.
I can somewhat see that. They don't have to come in person, they can be on Zoom. So we're asking them to take 10 minutes out of their day to meet with us.
If we get to them right away, if they come on at the exact, I mean, there's been times where people have sat in that audience for 2 hours while we talk about something else, and then we get to them and it's literally a 3-second thing and then they walk away. It's obscene to me that we expect them to do that, if I'm being like, that is ridiculous. Now, most of the time we address them right away and we try to get them out of the way, but the amount of times that there have been at least one person that have sat in those chairs for more than an hour and sometimes more than 2 hours is at least 3 times in the time that I've been on this board.
Exactly, at my point, they don't have to be sitting in there, they can be on Zoom.
But if they're sitting on Zoom for 2 hours as well, then they're
But
just sitting
you-
there waiting for us to get to them.
That's assuming that they're gonna be sitting right there in front of that computer, and they're not gonna be doing other things. I tell you, when I'm on Zoom, I keep my ear there, I listen to what's going on, but I'm not gonna sit there and stare at the computer screen when I'm on Zoom, so, when I'm doing other things. So I think it's a fair compromise to say, okay, if you can be here, that's great, because maybe you wanna be acknowledged for your effort to be participating in the committee or the board, that's great. But if you don't, then at least you have the opportunity to be on Zoom to meet with the board. That's all I'm saying.
I think there's been a couple instances within the past couple years that people have been on Zoom and in person, or appointments have been held because not everyone that had put in for interest could make a meeting, and so there's been meetings, I believe, where we've had the appointments on, and then a majority of the candidates have been here, but not everyone. So then the board has decided to postpone that appointment till everybody could be in to participate, and I think it becomes very difficult scheduling wise and potentially holds up the select board's appointment process if we're trying to schedule everyone else's availability, even if it is on Zoom. Sometimes if it's 8 o'clock on a Monday, maybe a Monday night, I'm in charge of my kids and I have to put my kids to bed at 8 o'clock. The board or committee that I'm looking for appointment on is a Tuesday night, let's say, and Tuesday nights I'm not in charge of the kids, and that's totally fine. And if it's and so that's a little bit where I come from. Also, I think we've streamlined having the letters of interest and additional information to really highlight their expertise and interest, and not just a quick one-line email, I'm interested in this, with no context or anything. So I think you know, kind of having, and then that provides a kind of a fair playing field if someone is seeking a position for which they would be the reappointed person, but it's a contested seat. The reappointed person may not wanna be here in person, but the others have to be here. And then that could potentially create an unfair bias, because they're not required to be here. Again, I realize I think that there's.
Paul, any thoughts?
I don't, I've been aware of having to, every 3 years, submit a letter of intent to whatever committee, and then to have someone else write a backup letter for you. And so, you know, I don't see any harm in it, but by the same token, there are people who somewhat worry about doing these things, and so, okay, it's understandable, I suppose, but, you know, having to come in here and sit, as Alice pointed out, for a couple of hours and wait for the committee, wait for the board to get around to their appointment, yeah, that's somewhat daunting, so, you know, there's both sides of the coin as far as I'm concerned.
I make a motion that we remove the requirement for individuals seeking appointment to come in. They can come in if they choose to. We could request that they come in if there's a, I know this is a really long motion, so bear with me. The motion is just to remove the requirement. I'll leave it at that, but then just, we could have something in the process where if there's a reason why we need them to come in or something of that nature, we could request that at the time for a particular reason. Any one of us could request that happen, to ask them a question or anything like that, I suppose. So we could add that in.
I think that's always in the board's purview to request, well, I will second the motion for discussion, and then I think it's always within the board's purview to request, you know, applicants or whatever to come in, but I think, again, for me, having it as a requirement is, an undue burden. When especially given that we have all the other substantial information.
I do agree. I wouldn't mind seeing something that, you know, I do feel like, to your earlier comment, Leah, I feel like we still see some of the letters of interest that we see are really great, and they'll provide a lot of details and experience. Others are exactly like you said, they're a one-line sentence, just say, please consider this my interest, and, you know, and I would like to see something a little bit more formal around what we would like to get from those interested people to make up for that. And I agree, I think it's always within the board's purview, you know, if there's an appointment before you, the board or an individual member does not have to vote, or they could choose, or they could bring up in discussion that they would like to postpone and ask that individual to come in if the board would like to do that. I think that's within our purview, as you know, but I agree, if we're trying to get especially new people into some of these vacancies, I think the less restrictions on something like this that we have makes that a lot easier to do that.
So just quickly to your point on a letter of interest, I mean, I think hopefully people are always gonna put in more, but again, these are almost all, well, they're all volunteer roles that we would be appointing, right?
Right.
And I mean,
There's only so much.
As somebody who is the type of person who would write, consider this my letter of interest, it's not because I'm not interested or not because I don't have an interest to do this. It's just, I'm volunteering my time. If you make me go through hoops and ladders to volunteer my time, I'm not gonna volunteer my time. It's just, it's unnecessary, it's burdensome. I don't have the time to do that. If you want me to help, I'm happy to help you, but make it difficult for me to help you, why should I help you? It's just my opinion.
I think putting that there removes the face-to-face and removes the ability for the board to be able to talk to somebody and ask questions. And I think that is something that I think kind of dumbs down the situation of being able to interview somebody for this position instead of just rubber stamping it based on a letter or a wording.
But I go back to it's a volunteer position. Well, I mean, what right do we have to interview somebody for a volunteer position?
Every right in the world. If we're appointing them to a committee, we have the right to ask them questions. I mean, that's just my opinion, so it appears I may be in the minority this time, so.
Oh, the tables turned, Harry, huh?
The turntables have turned.
Maybe that's from, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, I understand your point. I mean, I think it's, and that's why I said if there's something that's, you know, if there's a particular position or committee that is very important and it's a contested position, there's multiple people that are interested in it, I think having people come and talk to us about that and us be able to make a good decision on that has a lot of value. But if you have one person who's volunteering for this, that this is the first person that we've had that's volunteered for this committee in 5 years, are we really gonna make them come in and grill them and interview? No, we're just happy somebody's volunteering to join.
I guess by the wording, it kind of makes it final. And I mean, when was the last time we had just one person that wanted to apply?
We have it pretty frequently.
Maybe a couple of weeks ago or whatever when we signed off, but we've had people where there've been 7, 8 people wanted to be in here.
I don't remember the last time we had 7 or 8 people.
Wait, 7 or 8 people?
No.
Wait,
Who
what?
wanted the position?
No, we don't have that many volunteers.
Charter
What?
commission we did,
Well, that was a brand new committee.
so.
And that I think was seated to be 8 to 12 people, I think.
That's my
We had
point, if
7?
we're saying they don't have to show up, then it kind of
Well, I
removes.
think that's a different
Yeah, but if
situation,
you had 8
that's a
to
brand
12
new
people
committee.
who.
Then we need to kind of specify that here, I guess.
But I think that's what Alex's point, I mean, I think we can update it to encourage in-person or Zoom attendance, but not require. And I think you said the charter committee to me is a very different situation where that's a brand new committee. So I don't disagree. That's where I would, as a board member, say I would like to have the interested parties come and talk to the board and answer questions about what their interest is. But for an established board or committee, I see it as different.
And I think that, if I may, I think that goes to kind of it's the board's purview. So
Right.
for establishing a new committee, I don't disagree asking members to be present to answer questions, especially for something, whether it was the ad hoc bylaw committee years ago or the charter committee more recently. And also for boards or there's been instances in the past many years ago that the board had voted against the recommendation of a chair. Now obviously there's the chair of the appointed committee, and so I think that there's no way going into a meeting that that may happen. But if there's rumblings and rufflings, then it might be at the best interest of the board to request the interested applicants to be in person, as well as the chair. But otherwise, I think that that's at the board purview level. And so I don't think it needs to go in the policy. I think we as board always have that authority to make that choice or whatever.
The only problem with that, I think, and obviously I'm contradicting my own statements here, if we're deciding that we want somebody to come before us prior to them getting appointed by us, right? So if somebody wants to get appointed but they don't come, and how do we decide that we want that person to show? Like, at what point and what's the process to say we do want this person to show up? Because one, if we're getting the packet or we're getting the information, 5 days before our regular board meeting, we can't hold a vote through that to say like, oh, we want this person. And then if we're doing it that Monday when we should be appointing them, is that right to do either? So like now we almost need a longer timeline to get somebody appointed, which I'm not entirely sure. I'm not sure that's not feasible. I just don't know if that's the most sensible thing either. So I guess I'm posing a complication in my own thought process.
So I think if I may, I think most of our, per the bylaws, most of our appointments are supposed to happen by July 1st of the July 1st of the year, so they would happen in June. So anything that the board would be mindful of that they might want to have, oh, we would really like to have this board or committee appointees in person or not. And then if there's mid-cycle vacancies, I would very much think that, the office could even send out a memo ahead of time to the board, hey, we're looking to put this on the agenda. Is there interest in having them in person or not? And then do that from the majority just back to the office. Or if it's on a Monday night agenda and the board decides in theory, no one would be here for that board or committee. So if the board decides we would like to hold this appointment because we would really like to have conversation with the applicant or the chair or whomever, and then we could hold it and request, work out a schedule for that. So I think.
So there's ways
I think
to.
there's ways, yes.
I think simply put, if someone is applying for something, a position on the finance committee, like to ask them about their background in finances. And I mean, it goes over simplification, but that's basically what I was thinking.
I would like to make a motion to move the motion.
I was gonna say, we have a motion and a second. And no, is there any further discussion?
Yeah.
All right, then we have Alex's motion, which is to remove the in-person and or Zoom requirement for appointees before the board. Roll call, Alex.
To remove the requirement, right?
To remove the requirement to attend, yes.
So move,
Roll
what
call.
would I even knew what I was doing.
Second day.
Whitman,
Ledger eye.
Okay.
It's been a long day.
It has. All right, thank you, everybody, I appreciate the discussion. All right, next we are moving into the Moses Howe Award. As everybody knows, this is the award for excellence in public service. We have quite a few nominees that have been submitted in our packets. I'm not gonna go through and read all of these, but I will open it up to the board for any discussion on anybody that was submitted or if anybody has thoughts.
so can I just, for the public's, the name of who the nominees were,
Is that typically how you,
I think normally we have
Okay.
kind of gone through just so that the public is aware of,
Okay,
and not necessarily the quote unquote counts or anything like that,
Right.
but just kind of the names of the.
okay. All right, so then for public knowledge, the nominees that we have a nominee for Randy Jordan. Why are you nominating? I'm not sure even for this board that I need to go through and, I mean, Randy is well known to everybody and we know what he volunteers his time for and what he does for the town. So we have Randy in front of us. We have a couple of nominations for Scott and Ann Davis, who have been running the Rutland Historical Society for quite a while now, and they've got some other contributions in town. They're active in the Congregational Church and was a secretary for many years. The Historical Society, of course, that they're heavily involved in. So we've got a lot of connections there. We have several nominations from the Board of Trustees for Carrie Remington from Moses Howe. Obviously, Carrie has done an awful lot over the years for the community around the library space and programming opportunities. So she's got her nominations on the table. And we have our own Tamika Murphy, who has quite a few nominations in here as well. Again, similar to several of the other recipients, I don't need to, Tamika's service speaks for herself. She's a dedicated employee that has been publicly stated that numerous boards you know, she's invaluable to numerous boards for what the work that she does in town. I believe that's it, four, right?
Okay, thank you, Jen.
If anybody would like to add anything, please. Again, I'm newer in town and I do know all these faces, obviously, but I know some people have longer histories with some of them than I do.
I feel like every year we have a really, really good pool of nominees for Moses Howe, and it's always a really, really tough decision, and I think that speaks volumes to how awesome our community is in the sense of holding public service near and dear to all of our hearts, and that a lot of what happens in town is through kind of unseen and seen, but a lot of unseen work that happens in a variety of different aspects. So I really, every year, I love this, but I also dread it because it's such a tough decision.
I know.
So I want to thank everyone for taking the time to provide such thoughtful rationale for their nominations, not solely for their nominations, that's very much appreciated, but there is really, really thoughtful rationale for their nominations also, and I love that as well.
I feel like there's a lot of comments this year for
Yeah.
all the applications. It's, yeah.
What I found a little hard about choosing this is that what I tried to put into perspective were individuals who were nominated who just didn't work for the town, but expanded themselves out into the community and did things also for the community. And I think when I look at some of them, that's where I ran into, do I do this one, do I do that one? Because they both have some unique aspects of out into the community of what they did. So that's what I found hard on this, and a lot of it wasn't even put in here. It's because of my personal knowledge of them. So a lot of the stuff wasn't put there in regards to that. Personally, for me, I come down to, I guess, knowing Carrie for a long time, the job she did, her reaching out, everybody in town that goes Levy knows her. And I'm assuming she's retiring this year, from what I hear. Is that correct?
I believe the board did say that.
Huh?
The board did say that.
Is she retiring? So I think for her, this would be a great nomination. As far as the Davises are concerned, I've known them. I know he's been an individual who's been a moderator, and they've been involved in the town quite a bit. But I don't know, I don't know if I would personally rate them above Kerry. I'd have to put them probably on the same level. And I know everybody here is just excellent, they're good, they're just good people in town. They want the best for the town, but I'm trying to balance the number of years of service that they did, the dedication they've done, and the outreach to the community that they've had in that. So that's my opinion.
Paul, any thoughts?
I think that the people that have been nominated all are outstanding in their own fields, I guess is the best way to put it. In other words, they put in their time and efforts to make the town a better place, to make the town run smoother, or some such a thing, and so all of these things are taken under consideration. You know, it's a decision that, you know, you're gonna look at and then think about and probably ask yourself a couple of times, you know, is this really the person that I think is capable, or not capable, but, you know, person who deserves this position, award, if you will.
Did you have anybody specific that you thought fit?
If it were gonna be me to look at anybody, I've worked close quarters with Temecca for a number of years, and I do think that, you know, she is deserving of an award or something like this because of knowing her and knowing I've come to depend on her for a number of things that I'm involved in personally, and so, you know, no problem, I'll get it done, and it gets done, and that's all there is to it, so we'll leave it at that. It's very simple put, as far as I'm concerned.
Any thoughts, Alex?
I feel like it's very unfair for me to judge this. There's people on the, I don't even know these people, so I feel a little bit bad.
That's
even
how I felt too. a couple
Thinking
years
about
ago.
how I would judge something like I just don't think it's.
But I think in those cases, it's also beneficial because you're judging more specifically on the feedback for the
Yeah.
nominees.
I'll put you on the spot though. For me, I kind of, it's already been said, it's difficult. Because everybody here has contributed in significant ways. But I don't want to, I don't want my comments to seem like everybody here is worthy of this type of an award.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure with Harry, your comment, if Carrie is in fact retiring, if that is something official or if that's just unofficially
It
spoken.
was said by the library, the library board.
I mean, she has told me she
Trustee.
was retiring this year.
I've heard it, yeah.
But I didn't wanna come out and, cause
was
that's
said
not,
during the
that's not
budget
an
meeting.
official announcement,
Was
just
it?
telling
It
me.
was said during the budget meeting because they were talking about the cost of replacing.
Oh, that's
Carrie.
right, I remember that topic coming up.
And because she's grandfathered in with not needing a master's.
That's correct, I remember that
Yeah.
conversation now. So I agree with your comments, Harry. You know, Carrie's been here contributing in her capacity, you know, for 25 plus years, and she advocates for the library, not just the library, but for the community impact that the library has. And she's, you know, there's a reason why she's good at what she does, because she's, you know, she puts all of the needs of those community members that utilize the space, you know, at the forefront.
Yeah.
So
You know, I guess I look at it, maybe this isn't fair, but I look and say, if Carrie does retire, is she gonna stay around here? Is she gonna leave, go to Florida? This may be the only time we have a way of recognizing and awarding her faithful dedication to this town and the library. And unless somebody dies, they all have a second chance next year, type of thing.
this is true, it will be back around.
Jen, if I may, I just wanted to say I very much appreciate the nominations. They certainly made my heart happy. But I very much do not want to be the recipient of this award. There are some very well-deserving folks on there, and I agree with much of the sentiments that have been shared tonight. So if it makes the board's decision any easier, I'm very grateful, but do not wish to be the recipient of this award. So.
Comments. Appreciate it
Next
very
year,
much.
maybe, Tamika.
No, that's okay.
Then, maybe next, okay.
Thank you. Anybody have thoughts, or I'll entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion that we nominate Carrie Remington as the Moses Howard Award winner.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion?
Just for Tamika, I think it's the 2025 Moses Howe because it's the previous year, so it'll be.
Yeah, it's confusing because the way that we started doing it is, you're right, it's for service in 2025, but it's still the 2026, the way that we numbered it when we started. Like if you look at the
Okay.
website, it's,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
it's
think the
kinda
plaque
confusing.
the plaque I think will say 2025.
Yes,
Okay.
and it should, yeah, I think,
okay.
yeah.
No,
It's
I
just
just wanted
confusing the way
like,
we started it.
and I know
then we
there
kept
was back
going.
and forth about it, so I just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I just ask the board real quick, are you okay if I share the nominations with the other recipients, just so that they know that they received these kind words from the residents?
I don't have any concerns. I think it would be great to hear that they're appreciated in the community.
Yeah.
If the board's agreeable.
Yes.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Thank you for the clarification, Leah. Any other discussion? Roll call, Alex.
Vote aye.
Second, I.
Wait a minute.
Matt's and
Dry. Congratulations to Carrie.
Congratulations to Carrie.
And congratulations to everyone being nominated,
Everybody,
like.
Being nominated, it's
I
always a
was-
tough.
You know what I find, you know what I think is tough, and I think Tamika voiced it nicely, is that, you know that you may or may not be voted for something, and then you do sit like she did and said, well, there's a lot of people that are deserving and that, so I give her credit for that. You know, it takes a lot to be able to say something like that, so I give you credit for that.
Well, and to your point and your suggestion, I think just knowing that these, comments are out there, it can go a long way to make somebody feel good
Yes.
about their contributions and what they're doing, and that they're being recognized.
And Jen, if I can, outside of the Moses Howe Award, we have a share a compliment feature on our website. So at any time, if somebody has a positive interaction with one of our employees, they're welcome to submit it through there, and it goes right to the town administrator, and we can put it in their smile file.
Perfect, thank you for that reminder.
Yeah, it goes smile file.
Thank you, Harry, for making that decision.
Oh,
All right. Moving on, we have annual town meeting. So not much here to do, but call the town meeting and open the warrant. So we have town meeting, which is scheduled for Saturday, May 9th, is that right? Saturday, May 9th, oh, the election is May 11th. So the town meeting is currently scheduled for May 9th. The warrant, we are looking to open today and close that on Monday, March 16th, 2026. Any conversation? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to call the annual town meeting for Saturday, May 9th, 2026 at 6 p.m. at Glenwood Elementary School, and to open the warrant effective today and to close on Monday, March 16th, 2026 at 4:30 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion?
Just, I think communication did already go out to, with the proposed the calendar that we approved last meeting, to boards and committees as well as department heads and everything. And I think there's been a few to reach out to the office just as far as placeholders or working on language, knowing that it's a little bit of an accelerated timeline for the warrant, and to make sure that all the deadlines are met and I's are dotted and T's are crossed. So, but just to re-communicate that out since it's official now, please, and thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, we have a motion and a second. There's no other conversation. Roll call, Alex.
Vote aye.
Second, I.
Wait a minute.
Matt's and I.
Right? Thank you. All right, last topic on our agenda is FY 2027. We have a couple of topics. Harry, I'm gonna put you on the spot, see if you can give us any updates or a summary of the school committee meeting that you and Darren attended.
I think I will give you a fractional, because Heather was there also. So I'll give my interpretation. I felt the meeting was very rewarding. I have had several occasions to meet with Jim, the superintendent. And I found him to be a very decent guy, very straightforward, trying to do the best job he can for the school. However, the essence of what I got in the budget was they tried to do everything they could, the best, to give us the lowest possible bill, if you will. But even with that, a lot of the towns were still very dissatisfied and upset that they didn't cut more. What I heard was that they cut a lot of stuff in terms of budgeting but I didn't hear any salary cuts or prepper cuts. I heard people they were being hired. So if we're stuck in our situation where we can't hire anymore, buddy, that was kind of not a good thing that I heard. And I understand why he did it, because a lot of it was due to sped ed. The other piece that I saw when I looked at the budget and I heard was the fact that they were spending money on other things that maybe could have been deferred for later on. For example, one line item said major projects, and it was like they increased it like $400,000. And I'm going, okay, what kind of projects? And is that necessary this year to send to the town? So when I say I think that was a very difficult budget they did, I can't validate until I screen everything as to how the budget was, but I think they tried to be fair. I think Jim really did try to be fair in the budget to the town. But it's still a big number in what we're doing.
Anything you want?
What did you just say when you said that they're trying to cut in hiring positions? Sorry, I just missed what you said.
I didn't hear them saying they were going to cut any hiring positions, any staff.
Okay.
But they were gonna hire more staff.
Gotcha.
And I think that related to the sped ed, what they needed to do those kind of things.
Yeah.
I think it was 5 or 6 people they were gonna hire on that. And I think 1 or 2 might be for the schools here in Rutland that they were gonna do. And my frustration, I guess, and maybe I shouldn't have made the comment, but my frustration was that we shouldn't be in that situation. We shouldn't have the towns against an education system that educate our children. The state has done a terrible job of refunding the money from the lottery, of looking, the education is gonna be important, and yet they don't fund it. So I find that coming back now to the towns where we're going at each other, and there should be no reason for that. Jim did say if he had the money that they were supposed to have, he'd have $30 million. That's how much ours, and we're one of the lowest, Wachusett is one of the lowest funded by the state in the state for a regional school. So it's kind of a no-win situation for us against them, and we gotta do the best we can. But I did hear frustration from other towns in regards to that. So that's my 50% take.
Is there anything else you wanted to?
I think Harry did a great job of not only summarizing the presentation, but also representing the board at the meeting itself. I think that Darren did a great job of representing the finance committee. The setup of the room, we were the last community to speak. So many of the comments that we were prepared to offer, the other communities already offered them. But I think that Darren and Harry both did a great job of summarizing not only Rutland's position, but all five communities. We will get their final budget next week. They have their public hearing on the 9th, I believe, and the school superintendent and his team will be presenting to the Joint Finance Committee Select Board meeting on March 19th. So that'll be the opportunity for you all and the Finance Committee and residents in general to either come to that meeting or tune in and really get a chance to hear the full budget presentation specific to Rutland. So please put that on your calendar. The Bay Path will be presenting on March 12th, and those two will round out the last of the unknowns. in our budget. So for your meeting on the 16th, we should be able to bring forward a final budget, because we will, although we won't have heard the presentation from the regional school district until the 19th, we will have that budget number. So I expect to bring to you a final budget on the 16th, where we can, my expectation is that you will review that document and be prepared to say that this is our FY27 budget and this is how we're moving forward. So to that end, knowing that we're also on an accelerated town meeting schedule with the warrant closing also on the 16th, we had a meeting this afternoon with town council to review the draft warrant language for the override articles and also the draft language for the ballot questions. And I think the biggest takeaway is that we have been misusing the term tiered override. What we want to be saying is a multi-year override. A tiered override would be representative of several levels of service, either additions or reductions within a single fiscal year, as opposed to what we want to do, which is present our voters with levels of increased amounts to fund the budget over a 3-year period. So council did Roger did a great job of breaking that down for us, and I'll just sort of hit this at a very high level, and we can talk more about it at your next meeting. But I do want to make sure that I'm using this opportunity to sort of set that record straight. So we are still asking voters to approve an increase of the Proposition 2.5, and we would like that increase to be in effect over a 3-year period. So that has not changed. It will work a little bit differently than the way we've been approaching this conversation, with the fact that at your FY27 town meeting, on the May 9th town meeting, you will only be approving at that town meeting a budget that represents expenses for FY27. So your budget will represent approximately a $3.1 million increase over Proposition 2.5 to fund FY27 expenses, or proposed FY27 expenses. Where the select board will have some decisions to make at your next meeting is whether or not we want to offer an A budget and a B budget. The A budget being the budget that represents the override, and the B budget that represents a balanced budget. The advantage to that is that we don't have to come back for a special town meeting, that we leave town meeting with approval for, ideally, both the override and the balanced budget. So where the change in the conversation comes in, and I think that I'm going to address this specifically to Harry, because I think this is going to be wonderful news for you. So on the ballot question, there'll be 3 ballot questions. The first of the ballot questions would be to fund the increase of $3.1 million to fund FY27. That ratifies the article that you will have taken, that you will have approved theoretically and hopefully at the town meeting 2 nights prior. The second ballot question will be to fund $1.1 million to fund FY28. So that would encompass the 3.1 that you voted for FY27, and then 1.1 million that can only be applied to expenses in FY28. It cannot be used to fund anything in FY27. And then logically, the third question would be to fund $1.2 million to fund the FY29 budget expenses, or the anticipated FY29 budget expenses. So again, this gives the voters the assurance that the town cannot ask for $5.4 million and spend $5.4 million in the fiscal year 2027 or 28, because you don't have access to those funds until FY29. And this is the difference basically between a tiered override and the multi-year. So our language was off, as well as how we would present those multi-year levels of funding. We would ideally appreciate that voters do fund and approve on the ballot all three, because it gives the town the best opportunity to do strategic financial forecasting. It allows us to even out our budgeting for the next 3 fiscal years. However, the way that it would be structured on that ballot is it really does give the residents the ultimate control as to how far out they want to approve that additional override. Residents may feel, voters may only feel comfortable voting to fund FY '27, and so they would only vote yes on ballot question 1. They may feel more comfortable voting for 2 years, and then they would vote yes for ballot question 1 and 2. And then obviously, if they felt comfortable approving the full amount, they would vote yes on 1, 2, and 3. But that would be at their
Very
discretion.
good, Heather, I like that.
So that is, that wasn't, I cannot take any credit. That was town council wanting to make sure that our messaging was clear. And I think that as they explained that to us, it really crystallized for us the how much better that messaging is, because it really provides the residents and the voters the assurance that they will not be approving $5.4 million in one fell swoop.
So their taxes are not gonna get hit all at once.
Well, they wouldn't have anyway. However, this really makes it very clear that those override amounts cannot take effect until that specific fiscal year, as they're approving those ballot questions.
So the attorney said that if we approve the second year, that money will collect in the second year, but it cannot be used for any,
It cannot be collected until the second year.
until the second year. So there's no way those approvals we can use in any particular year. We can't overspend.
Correct.
I think that's what I like about this, because that's been the concern, that we are saying we want X amount for an override, like the last one. It didn't last as long as we stated, but this one, we're legally held to not being able to pull those funds until the approved time.
Right.
So it's more assurance to the residents that
The Department of Revenue would not allow us
Right.
to raise those values over the 3.1 in FY '27, and then the 3.1 plus 1.1 for FY '28, and so on.
I love the concept, I love the idea that the townspeople will know where we stand in years 2 and 3 for this town.
yes.
Absolutely.
My concern is I don't wanna see them get buyer's remorse. Come year 2, we're gonna ask you for another $1 million on top of what you already approved. That will shut down any override in the future. And that's my concern. So my point is, we've gotta manage the books
Yep, no,
real good to make sure that does not happen.
I think that message is definitely received.
Yeah.
And our budget forecasting, as we've mentioned in previous meetings, the forecasting model is based on a 3% increase year over year for town spending and a 6% increase year over year for school spending. Obviously, that school spending is something that we do not have control over. However, that's what we've modeled that, and we can certainly revisit that, but that's what these current amounts are modeled at. So that's my
Best of our ability.
that's my summary for tonight, and we'll have those warrant articles for your review at your next select board meeting, as well as the ballot questions, so we can get those to the town clerk and have those on file.
I'm not trying to be critical or a naysayer, because I know that whether we do the second year for the amount of money, and we have to come back, well, we would have done the second year higher if we had to do it anyways. So that's kind of 6 of one and a half a dozen of the other. But in the town's mind,
No, understood.
that's my concern.
And I will say that there is no legal restriction. Should the voters approve the 3 years worth of expenditures and we get to year 3 and we realize that our estimate is, we said 1.2, but we really needed 1.5 in order to close that book. There is nothing that legally prevents us from asking for an additional override. I'm hearing what you're saying, that would
It's not what any of us.
not what
not what any of us want.
Right.
However, I just wanna go on record to say that there's nothing that legally prevents us from doing that. It would certainly not be the plan or the intention, and I think that all of us would want to choose any other option than that, but I just wanna be clear.
If I may, just one thing, I was at the school committee meeting as municipal rep for the school committee
Yes.
meeting part, and then I moved to the audience for the budget part. One thing I heard from I thought Harry and Darren did a fabulous job representing Rutland, and I think all the municipalities as a whole kind of speaking to, it's not just a Rutland specific issue, it's a funding issue across the board. One thing I heard from the school side is they really need help from us, the municipal electeds, to advocate at the state level for better increased funding. And I know Harry and I last year spent a decent amount of time going to Ways and Means meetings and everything.
Plus, we went out to Holyoke or
Yeah,
whatever it was,
yeah. So I think that doing that, but not just, I think from Rutland, but also from the other 5 member communities, as well as, Quabbin's regional, Westminster, there's a lot of regional schools within Central Mass, and so trying to coalesce the local executive branches to advocate at the state level on behalf of and in support of the schools. The schools are willing to do it, but they really hear our state representatives really hear from us more than they do the schools. Is that
Yeah, that's right. After the meeting was over, I spoke with Jim. And I said, Jim, I love some of your ideas. I said, but I think, not to be mean, I don't think the school committees have the capacity to do what you do. I said, if you really want to make the state aware from all the towns, I think you need to take the lead and pull in the communities themselves and work with them into how to script and how to direct the towns to go to the state legislature. I don't think one of us is capable of doing it on our own. I don't think we're capable of bringing in all the communities. I think if he can do that, it would make a world of difference in coordinating the towns and saying, look, here's our problem, here's your problem, let's get a letter from you guys and let's send it to the state. So whether he does it or not, I don't know, it was just a suggestion, because I think something has to be done from what the state is doing on our region specifically. And it's, the other thing is what do you say, 85% of the cities and towns in Rutland, in the state, are hold harmless.
Yeah.
How does the state let 85% of its school systems go into hold harmless? I don't understand their thinking.
It's just the
Just-
formula is wrong.
And you know what, it doesn't have anything to do with the formula. They could certainly, if they took an extra $750,000 and said, we're gonna give it back to the state. We're gonna take the lottery money we have that we're spending here and we were supposed to give to you, we're gonna give more back to the state. The formula is one thing, but they have the flexibility to do that if they want to. So I just, again, not to be mean, I just don't think they value education as the way they say they do. I don't think they do.
the state?
Huh?
The state, yeah.
The state, yeah.
Just wanna make sure
What
that's
did you
clear.
think I meant?
No, no,
What'd you say?
I wanted to make sure you
Oh,
didn't,
no,
cause
no, I told Jim that, I thought it was one thing.
If I'm leading into future agenda requests, I know when Seth was our interim town administrator, we had asked him to take the Wachusett Regional Working Group policy to the other member towns, and I don't know, some of what came out of the meeting also was there were something similar had been done years ago. It wasn't that same thing, but there had been something similar many years ago, and there seemed to be interest in having some more involvement from the municipal side. So I don't know where that stood with Seth
Follow up
taking
on
it,
that.
and just kind of to follow up, to bring that back to a potential idea.
We can follow up on
Thank you.
For the budget topics, just circling back to the public educational material. Obviously, with the information we've received today, we need to update some of the materials that had been created just to make sure that everything is reflected accurately. So I think those are getting into a good place, and hopefully within, what did you say, Tamika, in the next
Open in the next day or so.
couple of days, we'll be able to launch the website that will have all the information.
We have to go through and remove all references to the word tier.
Yes.
Sorry, I think that was my language originally.
No,
so
no,
sorry.
that's okay. It was, Roger and I had talked about this earlier to make sure that we were, wanting to align, and it was a great opportunity for us to really, I guess, very strategically understand what what we want to present in the exact language, and I found it very beneficial. I learned new things today.
Thank you.
So those materials are getting updated, and we'll hopefully have that website launched within the next few days. And to Heather's earlier comment, we'll have hopefully a budget to review at the next meeting on the 16th. I will work with Heather to come up with any targeted questions or directives that she would be looking for the board for that discussion, and we'll go from there.
Jen, I have a quick question for the board along those lines. At the last finance committee meeting, they noted that on the calendar we had done for the whole season that we had a joint budget meeting scheduled for Thursday, March 26th. So I wanted to see if this board felt that you still wanted to have it as a joint meeting, if you wanted them to just hold it as a finance committee meeting. I wasn't sure how you guys felt about that, because I know when we made it, it was long before we kind of got into the process.
I personally, speaking for myself, I wouldn't mind keeping it for now. I'd like to see how the meeting on the 16th goes when we see what Heather presents to us for the final budget. And then if we feel like we would like that joint discussion, we can keep it if it works for everybody, or we can decide at that time if that's.
I'm of the same mindset of keeping it, at least for right now, especially we'll have the final budget from Heather on the 16th, but then we won't meet with Wachusett until the 19th.
Right.
And so if there's any kind of digestion after kind of having all the department head and board and committee all the pieces of the budget meetings, then that's one final opportunity, I think, to have any deeper conversation without like Wachusett there or
Right.
VPAT there or whatever.
Okay, got it.
Right. Is there any other budget discussion for this evening?
Good.
Okay. Future agenda requests. I was notified today that Boston 25 News has reached out to us and would like to include Rutland in their 2026 zip trip. So we are working through details of that, and we'll be bringing information back to the board, but it sounds like they will be here sometime in July, so we'll have lots of.
Does that mean I get to sit at a restaurant somewhere and talk to them?
Yes.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah. So more details to come on that. We'll have that for an upcoming agenda when we have more info. And then secondly, I just wanted to acknowledge the email that we received from Rose regarding the policy, the consideration for a policy with regards to the recordings, posting, editing, whatnot. So I just wanted to acknowledge that, and just the plan for Heather to look into a couple of things and bring some information back to the board for consideration on that topic as well. Are there any other future agenda requests from the board at this time?
I had mentioned the Wachusett working group
Yep,
one,
I
but
have
I
that
think
on.
you have that listed, so
Yep.
thank you. And that's not, again, super urgent, but just kind of keeping it on the radar and based on the conversation, there seems to be some interest from other towns.
Okay. Upcoming board meetings next week, March 12th, we have a budget meeting, that's the meeting with Bay Path. I did inform Paul I will not be able to attend that meeting. So Paul, as vice chair, will run that one. March 16th is our next regular meeting, and then we have March 19th, which is the budget meeting with Wachusett. That's what we got coming up. Is there anything else to come before the board this evening? Motion to
Nothing
adjourn?
from me.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Motion, second, any other discussion? All right, roll call, Alex.
Vote aye.
Second night.
That's enough.
Sandra, aye. Thank you very much. We're adjourned at 8:38.